Hi, I'm John Nolette with Regional Sales Manager for New England and Eastern Canada, and I will be talking about VWLAN in a VMware world. Contents of my presentation are going to really cover 6 basic things, wireless trends we've seen, some statistics that I think that will lend to the discussion. What is actually virtual wireless LAN? How VMware changes everything, not so much with respect to VMware as a whole, but how we're seeing it in the wireless local area network. How does our VWLAN technology stand up against traditional hardware controllers and what we call first, second, and third generation technology? Also, what we're seeing in the trend today is the bring your own device and some of the overwhelming challenges that are coming into the workforce, and also healthcare and higher education. And some examples of our customers, some use cases of our customers today that are using VWLAN in their environment today. If you look back two years ago, what we see today and what is expected in 2014, it's represented quite well here, the percentage of growth over the 2-year period. Right now, we're seeing a jump from just 2012 to 2014 of 35% increase. Right now, today, workers are using the wireless local area network, the WLAN, probably 81 to 100% in most work environments. And obviously, we're seeing this trend to spike. I think these are conservative estimates. Really, the expectation is this is going to be much greater based on some of the other data we have seen. I mean, obviously, what's driving this? The proliferation of handheld and wireless devices, iPads, smartphones, tablets. None of these have the physical wired connection. It's the increase in demand on the wireless network is becoming more and more. Applications are driving this, and in a variety of vertical markets. Not only just in education, it's also being impacted by education curriculums, the one-to-one student device for learning, the issuing of iPads per student, tablets or laptops. And this is part of how teachers today are performing in the classroom. Applications are driving this. We're seeing cloud-based services increase. And obviously a major use change is what we're seeing in the handheld in terms of what's happening in the use on the 3G and 4G networks. They are being oversubscribed and the bandwidth is becoming more and more valuable. Mobility demand is exploding. 5 billion phones globally today and increasing. It's no longer, it's becoming more of a ubiquitous resource. It has to be necessary. We're talking about some institutions and some customers are scaling for growth and capacity in usage of almost upwards of 30% above their initial deployment. So what's changing, and what is the industry analyst saying about this? And it's really now becoming validating that the physical hardware controller is becoming the single most expensive piece in the wireless network. You can see it's represented here in some of the key findings that upfront capital cost is really what puts the single most expensive component in a wireless network is the actual physical hardware controller. What is virtual wireless LAN, or as we call VWLAN? Well, obviously, because it is taking the hardware component out of the network, we have actually taken the software component that sits on a physical hardware controller in a wireless network and actually turned it into software-based. And that eliminates that whole capital expenditure, that expensive component I referred to. The software sits in a virtualized environment. It sits on a VMware platform, on your ESX or your ESXi, so to speak. It has a very lightweight footprint, 2-core, 2 CPU, 2 gig of RAM, from 0 to 50 access points, or 4-core, 4 CPU, 4 gig of RAM when you're dealing with 51 up to 1,500 access points. So it's very scalable. And obviously, it's very inexpensive as we give that software component to the customer. We want the investment to be in the actual access point. So what is wireless virtualization? If you look on the left column, you see the traditional controller-based architecture. Really, those three key components to that, the old first, second, and third generation technology that we refer to, is the management control and the data plane. This is what the challenge has become with that scalability. It becomes that single choke point. All that data has to pass to the actual physical hardware controller, has to traverse the network, and then go back to the access point. This becomes a bottleneck. If you look up on the right, we've represented that we've actually taken that physical data plane and put that out onto the edge. We've added a little more processing power, a little more memory to the access point, and what we've done is we've distributed that data, fully distributed that data out to the edge. So the only information that's really traversing the network is the management and control that's going back to the VMware instance. If you look at how fourth generation wireless LANs are represented in a VMware VWLAN environment, you can see quite simply that the mobility tunnel from the access point, let's say a simple print job. Today, in a first, second, or third generation, in your traditional controller-based solution, that data packet would have to not only traverse the network, but also go back to the physical hardware controller, and in that packet, including the data, would have to traverse back to the actual access point. So it's really going over your network twice. But if you can see here in the orange represented the mobility tunnel, it's showing you that this never has to go back. Only the control and the management information is what traverses the physical network back to the actual VMware instance. It's the data traffic that stays local. This is that fully distributed architecture. This enables bandwidth to be free, no single points of failure, no bottleneck, no choke point. Keep all the traffic local to the edge. Scalability is the key component as to where we see how VMware is changing everything in the wireless network. Scalability, user density. If you look about the scaling constraints of a single service, that's completely eliminated. Now you have unlimited capability to deploy access points, the number of users on those access points, the bandwidth, and those different mobility domains. This is now can be managed from the cloud, and you can manage multiple locations from one data center. You have that centralized management. Centralized control based on the VMware gives you a lot of flexibility, not only from a domestic deployment, but also global. We have customers that have multiple locations internationally that are running them from one data center. It's simply just a matter of all you're deploying is the access point at each location and having it find home and configure itself. So the data traffic still stays local. It's only the management and control statistics that go back to the headquarter or the data center location. Now think about this from a high availability standpoint. If you have want redundancy or backup, we also have that zero packet loss capability by having an alternate backup location, which can either be a physical hardware appliance or it can also be another VMware instance. The same policies are pushed out to all locations. It's role-based access. So by liberating the wireless connectivity from the LAN, it enables you to also not only do a private cloud, but a public cloud, but also you can do a hybrid. But one of the real nice things about this slide is what's allowing is the SMB market to take advantage of commercial quality and commercial grade wireless technology. You don't have to have a large IT staff. Small companies today have maybe one person who manages their IT department, but most of this can be either outsourced to one of their local partners or local VARs. This enables the small and medium business market to take advantage of a virtualized wireless LAN. If you look in the left column in the dark blue versus the right column, the traditional wireless LAN is in the left column in dark blue, and the VWLAN is on the right side. This is a great representation of VWLAN compared to your traditional controller. If you look at a physical hardware controller, its access points, if we do based on the same level set, it's 150 APs supporting 4,000 users. However, in a VW LAN environment, the keynote here is you can support up to 1,500 access points and 48,000 users simultaneously. This controller software is $0. We give the customers our controller-based software to sit on their VMware instance. Whereas a traditional controller, obviously there's a price tag associated, averaging from $20,000 to $30,000. This is a simple software upgrade, no forklifting, there's no swapping out. If you look at its security, it has guest access components built in. All its role-based access and security is built in, which obviously is, because it's distributed, is put out at the edge. There is no single point of failure because there's no data center base for this. This is all distributed. Data is unaffected because it's out at the edge. Failover is hitless. There is no packet loss. There's a 0 packet loss on the high availability. Unwanted traffic is turned away at the edge because we make all the decisions distributed to the edge at the access point. No data has to traverse the network in order to be allowed onto the network. If that person is not known, they're immediately pushed to a splash page or into a separate VLAN that's secure, and then we offer them guest access credentials to test if they're able to move forward. So when we talk about scalability and talk about eliminating the physical hardware component, the next ratification is coming soon for 802.11ac, which is the gigabit to the access point. In a traditional controller world, you would have to do a complete forklift upgrade in order to do gigabit to the access point. With VW LAN, it's just a simple software upgrade. The only thing you have to exchange is the physical access point itself. But the nice thing about in a VW LAN world is you can mix and match 11N and 11AC. So if you see it from our perspective, what does AC stand for? We're talking about our competition and the traditional controller-based solutions. AC stands for another controller. Bring your own device is becoming a high buzzword today. Bring your own device. Right now, 60% of the companies allow you to bring your own device, and that's offered. In the next 2 years, that's going to grow to about 90%, is what we're seeing for future growth. So obviously, the commercial world is going to be taxed with not only security, but also capacity and growth on their network with these wireless handheld devices. Obviously, you can see there's some more validation. It's putting more pressure on the network. CIOs' task today is why are they allowing them to bring your own device? It's simple. They just can't afford to keep giving everybody a new handheld iPad or tablet or handheld device. So what they're doing is allowing not only contractors and guests, but employees to bring in their own devices. So if there's really 3 takeaways from VW LAN, it's that high scalability of the wireless LAN, security at the edge. We're forcing users to have their credentials, their information, and their policies and who they are be controlled at the edge, and only the control and management will be determined back at the central data center if they're allowed to advance into the network. And then obviously, another feature is the unified management of wired and wireless, which today with our software, we can allow users who are physically plugging into a conference room or plugging into a wired port can actually experience have that same end user experience as if you were coming on a wired network, a wireless network. So really it enables you to shut down open ports and force users to go to a guest access and put in credentials that allow them to move forward into the network based on their role and who they are. One of our customers today that's using it locally, it's a technology company here in Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Obviously, the requirements for security But also one of the things that's not mentioned here is it's global control. They have multiple locations throughout the world. Not only are they headquartered in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, but Noida, India, but they're in Chicago, they're in San Francisco, and in the Pacific Rim. They have a high availability backup location in Noida, and they're continuing to roll out the BlueSocket VW LAN across all their locations. So higher education, we've got North Idaho College, St. John's Prep here in Danvers, Massachusetts, and William Jessup University on the west coast. Also, some notable schools here in Massachusetts are the largest geographic school district in the state is Pittsfield Public Schools. They're using this for their 2 high schools and their middle schools and hotspots in their elementary schools, and also they're deploying this throughout the town of Plymouth. So in summary, really, if you look at what's happening to the wireless network today, the demands on it are becoming greater and greater. Obviously, the largest expense to a wireless network is the physical cost of the controller. What BlueSocket Adtran has been able to do is to take that physical hardware controller and put that on a software on a VMware instance, on a VMware server. It's very scalable. Obviously, I think the keynotes on scalability are on one VMware instance, we can support 1,500 access points and 48,000 users. You can start out with 1 AP today and scale up to as large as your network grows or as fast as you acquire companies. You have no limitations to that. It's VMware ready. We are an elite partner, and it supports the entire sustainability discussion that's already been happening for obviously the past 3-4 years. VW LAN addresses the challenges today with bring your own device that are coming into the workforce, also into the higher education market, not only in commercial but in education. We're seeing not only a 1-to-1 initiative, but in some instances we're seeing 3-to-1, and in higher education 5-to-1. So for every student, you're seeing 5 devices come into the network. So scalability is critical. Try it yourself. We offer our VW LAN software is downloadable. If you don't have a physical disk that you could get from our booth, you can download and actually test and evaluate VW LAN at no cost. My name's John Nolet, and thank you for your time.